Tamales, tamales, tamales. ¿Quién quiere tamalitos? Tamales, tamales. Están bien calientitos. Tamales, tamales. ¿Quién quiere tamalitos? Hay de carne, de puerco, con chile y con queso. Si me haces los tamales, yo te doy un beso. Lleva horas cocinarlos hasta duele.
Welcome to Radio Rejekts. We're back again, never left. We are going to start this episode like we always do. We introduce ourselves and let the guests introduce themselves. My name is Fiti, one of the hosts of Radio Rejekts. This is a special, just like the other two, edition where we're doing the Hot Tamale. My guest is actually going to be one of the players or contestants in Hot Tamale. And to my right, the man of the sound, as always,
DJ SSAB.
Man of words. We're going to get right into it. Our guest, to my right, let you introduce yourself, say your name, what do you like to go by, and what do you bring to the table?
Hello, my name is Vagabond Maurice. I'm part of the Slump Gang 777 Collective, and I'm a dragon, a writer, and a lyricist, and a musician.
This is going to get really good.
It's going to get real deep real quick. You don't even know.
Speaking of dragons, segue. The dragon who devoured the moon. What is that dragon's name? Oh, I got you, didn't I?
No. I was like, wait a minute, because it's funny that you bring that up. It's going to get really deep really quick. So the title is The Dragon Who Devoured the Moon, and then under it is The Dragon Who Devoured the Moon in Japanese, right? But the dragon's actual name is Bakunawa, and that's a Filipino dragon who got watered away from a village by being played music to be lulled.
You still keeping along? Still keeping deep. It is gonna get SSAB.
Damn, son.
We almost lost that one. Okay.
Already. Let's get it.
Have them on deck, SSAB.
Yeah.
All right.
Let me get comfortable real quick.
Speaking of dragons and all this kind of mythology type craziness.
Yeah.
You put out 2 projects.
Yes.
Around the same time. A lot of songs.
Yes.
Probably the most research I had to do for an artist.
12 and 13.
There's a lot of songs.
Long,
Each.
Yep.
Each one has its name,
Uh-huh.
and then it has a name, and I don't want to butcher it because obviously you said one was Filipino. So what is the translation as far as like the origin of those names?
For the first LP or the second one? The second one is called Watching Icarus Fly.
Yeah, I seen that.
Yeah, the second one is Watching Icarus Fly. The first one is The Dragon Who Devoured the Moon. I'm a fiction writer. I grew up reading a lot of like novels and like playing RPG games. So like most of the things that are the reason why all my shit is really dense is because that's what I grew up reading. You know, so it's just like The Dragon Who Devoured the Moon. Like who calls an LP that? Or
It was like I was like looking it up, and I thought it was like a novel.
Yeah,
at first. I was like,
yeah,
is this an audio book?
And it's just
What
like,
is this?
Right, and then like you break it down to like each song, and each song's title is like, they sound like, you know, the names of chapters of a book.
And the artwork is very. Now I don't know that culture, but as far as like anime, it's very influenced almost by that.
Oh, definitely, I'm a nerd. Straight up.
I wish we had a screen, because like everyone, if you go look up his stuff, which I highly encourage you to.
It's beautiful.
All of them are very beautiful, like sets of artwork. That it almost matches this title of the album, the cover work, and everything like that. Who do you work with for those?
So the person that did the artwork for both albums, his name is Vincent Cao, Columbia student. Actually, like early on, one of the first homies I met over there. But yeah, just an ill illustrator, and like she's just dope. So like I go to him for most of my artwork when it comes to like albums, because he can articulate all my crazy visions. You know?
Now, with your music being very heavy sample driven, your dad DJ jazz.
Yes. Dang.
Wow. Hey, like, if I could drop the mic, I didn't pay for the mic, so I'm not gonna drop it.
Don't drop the mic.
this?
Yeah.
I did a little research.
It's funny
I
because
did a little
like no
arcane
one usually
correct.
brings up my pops. Go ahead.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But you guys moved here and from, hold on, Milwaukee or Minnesota?
Minnesota.
Okay. Whatever. Close enough. I got it.
I mean, I guess
From
same Midwest
Minnesota.
family.
At what age was that though?
Okay. So my parents moved here from Liberia, first generation, second generation, wherever it is. I'm born in the U.S. But my parents moved from Liberia here in 1986, I think.
Okay.
But now I was born in '88, so I have no clue why they migrated from hot and rainy weather to straight up coldest place in the U.S.
And then you go Minnesota.
Then Minnesota. Then I came to Chicago. Yep.
And being that I know of somewhat of DJing, is with him DJing jazz, coming to Chicago, which is heavy DJ house music. Did he kind of like take a liking to it, or is it?
Oh, that's the thing. My pops actually, he did. It was only me who moved to Chicago. Yeah. My parents, they stayed in Minnesota. When I was growing up in Minnesota, that's where my dad did most of his, or all of his DJing.
Yeah.
He was in Liberia. He was a mining engineer. My mom was an English teacher. She was like a scholar, crazy. But when they moved to the U.S., they had to, start anew. So
He was a mining engineer?
Yeah, he was a mining engineer, and then he came and became a nurse.
That's what I heard, a nurse. I didn't want to drop nurse because
you're
wrong.
Now he came and he became a nurse, right? So then on the side, he was doing a lot of he was DJing, he was doing photography, he was doing a lot of art, So I grew up around a lot of jazz cuts, a lot of soul cuts, a lot of funk, R&B, and just the whole pantheon of what makes hip hop what it is.
Now, when you hear those things, where did it stem from as far as you beginning to start rambling these words and putting them together? Was it listening to the samples, listening to these records, or was it later in your teens where you had influence from your friends or something like that?
I would say it was definitely later in my teens because I when I was young, the dream was to be this glorious fiction writer. I was like, I'm about to write this novel, get this movie deal, and blah, blah, blah. And then that just transitioned into me doing slam poetry out the blue. Yeah. And then slam poetry transitioned through the peer pressure of my collective into doing hip hop, So it's just for me, I call it condensing the form of literature, because it's I went from writing these big, short stories to condensing it to 3-minute slam poems to condensing it into 16 bars, So it's just hyper ass literacy.
Now with you doing fictional, should I let that pause for a little while?
I'm it's gonna get really deep really quick. Come on.
Because of that, you have the two projects.
Yes.
Both similar in some ways, but different, obviously. Well, Icarus, I feel, is more of maybe because it's referenced in it too. It's more of black excellence, very strong, almost politically driven and everything like that too as well. Did you in the beginning seek that out, or is just kind of you knew you were gonna do two projects, you only had one project, and then you eventually split them, and you're this is more?
Yeah. To tell you the truth, I have 4 major projects that I have to conceptualize, artwork wise. So I know the color of what sounds I want for each project. Yeah. So for me, when it came from transitioning from The Dragon Who Devoured the Moon into watching Icarus fly, I was just out in the streets doing a lot of protests. And just getting involved in activism hardcore, because when I used to slam poetry, that's all my poetry was about. They're when you go to an open mic or a poetry slam, and you get that poet who walks in the big dashiki, has the glasses, and he's I'm gonna speak this poem, my brother, about the revolution. That was me.
Yeah.
when I was young. That was absolutely me. I had like these small tinted glasses. Oh man, I used to talk about revolution all the time. And then I mean, it just came full circle when it came to my music, you know, because I was always about it, you know.
Now,
so
is that organic, or is it something that stemmed from your move to Chicago? Is that something where your parents? Where is that coming from as far as like your mentality and your morale towards that subject?
It definitely, in part, comes from my parents, because like, you know, my mom, she was really into like, you know, when we all moved out here, she was really into artists who talked about the revolution and stuff, you know. So for me, the influence comes from that. You know, like my pops would play A Tribe Called Quest, you know, and then like growing up in my teenage years, you know, College Dropout came out, and I was like, okay, I'm gonna listen to some Kanye. And then after that, I discovered everyone else that Kanye would reference on the project, right? So you have like Tyler Quali, you have Mos Def, you have
Tribe
Common.
Called Quest, like he would kind of go back and sample those.
So like
records.
my thing was, you know, I was really into research when I was younger, you know,
Okay.
so like unlocking stuff and discovering stuff. So like most of the knowledge that I had that wasn't from school, I got it from going to a library and like figuring out like some of these references that like Black Thought would say. I'm like, oh, what? Like, who is this poet he's talking about? And my mom was just like, oh, you want to know? I'm gonna take you to the library. And I was just like,
So you would read
okay.
a lot.
Yeah, I would read
How many books have you read?
Man, in my lifetime, yo, a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah, a lot.
A lot?
Yeah, I would say like, yeah, a shit ton. Honestly, I can't even put it to.
Okay, so Titan Twilight.
Damn, yeah.
Can you go into a little depth about that song?
Titan Twilight. I think that's the one where I'm just like, it's been such a long time since I performed that song. Titan Twilight was a reflection. Oh yeah, Titan Twilight was it's a song that I have. It was a reflection on me cutting off my dreadlocks, right? I used to have like long ass dreadlocks, and then like, you know, a lot of shit was going on in life, and then like I did the whole Mulan thing where I took my hair in a bun, and then I had like some scissors, and I was just like, ah. And then, yeah, that was straight up the move. And then, like, I was like, oh, my dreadlocks.
You're just like on your knees in the bed.
Yeah, I was
My strength.
So, like, yeah, so that song was like, man, that song, it came together so dope because, like, my homie Khalil, he produced it. And it was just me talking about overcoming anxiety and overcoming depression and stuff like that, and just like, you know, just like the really low end feelings that you get, you know, you get all this pressure on yourself because, you know, just because of life, and you know, it's like my parents were going through a lot. There was a lot of shit that was going on during that time period. I was teaching everywhere, you know, I was a teaching artist for a long time. And that song for me was just like, all right, so this feeling of getting rid of my dreadlocks and starting anew, how exactly can I articulate that? And like the song before, this song was like hella sad. I was on some sad boy shit. I was like, oh man. But then I was just like, all right, so when it comes to an album, how can I flip this on its head? And I was like, all right, well, I need to make something brighter because like the project's coming together well. I'm doing much better in life. So like this song's a fucking celebration, you know, about me, about
This is a liberating experience.
Yeah. I mean, I'm talking about Buddhism and that shit, and I was
Because
just like,
that's the reason why you referenced the dreadlocks, and I was scrolling through your Instagram. I was like, what the hell did you have dreadlocks?
Oh
at?
man, I think those.
Like you erased it from everything.
Yeah, bro. I rebranded my whole Instagram, G.
Now you're very heavy on lyrical content. I know a lot of people are gonna say like, oh, that's everybody, hopefully, but.
Yeah.
I mean, you compile a lot of metaphors and things in that way. Is that through your extent of literature that you've read over the years?
Yeah. It's like continuously evolving, right? Because I feel like at an early age, I put in a lot of work when it came to creating a habit of like researching and like not feeling like there was a ceiling that would hit. Like I feel like knowledge is endless, right? So it's just like, how can I continue to sharpen my craft? How can I continue to get better? How can I better myself even if I feel like, oh, I'm the shit right now? But it's just like, that's not the truth, you know? There's there's always someone out there that even you don't even know about, you know, that's like better at you at something. So it's just like, how exactly can I keep up and continue to hone my abilities as a writer, as a musician, and just like as a performer. So it's just like, it's the endless struggle.
Now, did you reference it as nerdology?
Nerd mythology?
Nerd
like
mythology?
nerd mythology? It was like nerd mythology, nerd mythos. Yeah.
I'm gonna go with nerd mythology.
It was crazy. Yeah, it's funny because like I didn't even, like that part, I didn't even write that. Like one of my homies like bestowed that shit to me, you know? Like,
So what would you reference that as?
Like,
In your perspective, like
I
what
mean,
did you?
I would think it's just like, you know, pop culture, like even the counterculture of being a nerd, which is fairly cool now. You feel me? So it's just like
And
it's
it
what-
wasn't.
It wasn't at one point, right?
Yeah.
But then it's like now it is. But it's just like, you know, I would say it's definitely like pop culture in a sense. For me personally, it comes down to like anime and cartoons and stuff like that, and like comic books.
And gaming.
And gaming, yeah.
Gaming's more acceptable now. With virtual
Yeah,
reality, kind of like it's becoming a big thing. There's
Yeah.
always like a big game that's out that people are playing.
Right, yeah,
Like
yeah.
Fortnite or something like that.
Right,
But
right.
you're heavy into Street Fighter.
Damn.
Damn, son.
We
Yeah.
need to go on? I don't know.
Bro, wow, yeah. I got a lot of homies that's in the fighting game community. And
Do you have like straight up battles? Like you guys like
I mean, like, yeah, they like meet up. I'm like, the reason why.
you dress up as the characters
No,
and
no,
battle
no,
each
no,
other?
no, no. I'm just like, you know, it's just like you get together and you play Street Fighter for hours, or it's like, you know, I'm playing Dragon Ball Fighters right now. You know, I'm okay at Street Fighter.
Yeah.
But like, it's one of those things where it's just like the reason I'm even remotely as good as I am at fighting games is because my roommate is like hella into the fighting game community. Like he goes out to tournaments. And like he's like one of the top Dawsons in the
And there's
Midwest.
like money in it too, isn't there?
Oh no,
Like,
they be getting paid, bro.
for
They
real.
getting paid, yo. They got sponsors and stuff. They just like this is funny. Right now, there's a large tournament happening in Ohio, I believe, called CEO, and like mugs are getting flown out from Japan to compete and stuff like that. So like.
That big.
Yeah. I mean, it's not as big as like League of Legends, but it's just like it's getting
I
there.
don't even know what League of Legends is.
Oh,
man.
what? Oh, well.
I don't even.
He said, I can't even talk to you.
You know, all right. You know how
what
big
it is?
League of Legends. Yeah.
You know what it is?
No.
Yeah. Yo, like League of Legends.
He's like, I got a membership on it.
Yeah, bro. Like League of Legends, they be selling out stadiums. Like,
real?
yeah, they got teams that sell out stadiums. Like League of Legends is a big deal.
So what do you think is the difference between now and then? What changed that for people being more accepting towards the gaming community and anime? Even like I think on Twitter, like I'll see anime becoming like, oh, you like anime, you cool as hell.
Yeah. I think it's just the kids who.
Don't knock those people on Twitter.
I feel like it's just the kids who woke up and watched Saturday morning cartoons. They're now growing up. That's about it.
And
Like
is it, the Saturday morning cartoons anime is more of like a, I guess like
It's
a
like-
more
it's-
mature version
It's
of.
it's part of the curriculum. You feel me? Like
Yeah.
it's like when for me when I was growing up, I was watching Dragon Ball Z, Rurouni Kenshin, Sailor Moon, all these things that would come out on Toonami, right? And I was young back then. Now I'm older. And I feel like that generation of people that were influenced by that are now coming to the forefront because, paradigm shifts, generational swaps. Mugs getting old. They out of here and shit. You feel me? Like straight up, like this thing's coming full circle, bro. So that's why I think it's more acceptable now, cause
It's a part of it's a part of pop culture now.
Yeah, like-
it's more reference than everything. Because
Yeah.
you hear that in hip hop too, is people will reference Dragon Ball Z being one of the bigger ones. I'm sure there's like the same as like music. You'll get people that are like, oh, you like hip hop, you like Tribe Called Quest, you like
right.
Souls of Mischief, whatever
Yeah.
it may be. You like these
De
certain
La
ones. They're
Soul,
like,
yeah.
oh no, I like certain ones. You're like, you look at them weird. Is
Yeah.
that the same thing in that community too?
Yes.
Is there certain ones where people will say like, oh, I like this? And
Yeah,
you're
yeah.
like,
People were just like, huh? Yeah. I mean, I didn't know this until I got deep into that stuff. Until I went to my first anime convention. I was like, oh shit, there's tears to this shit. And I was like, oh my god, I'm I'm not as well versed as I thought I was. Like even the stuff I like now, like people are just like, oh what? Dang, that's such an old anime. I'm like, Cowboy
But it's a
Bebop.
good thing. It's kind of like a nod, like cool points.
I'm like OG now apparently.
How do you think it would be? Because I listened to some of your the projects, obviously, but some of the other stuff. Would you ever consider making a soundtrack for a game?
Of course, yeah.
Is that like a goal? Like, is that like?
I mean, it's not.
What is,
I mean, it's not necessarily a goal, but it's something that I would love to do. Like, I would make music for video games, or like I would even voice act. You know, I would do any of those things. You know, I feel like music is definitely the outlet. Is the first thing that I love doing because I like to write and perform and stuff, and like music combines those two things for me. But it's just like moving forward, like the long game would be to like figure out different ways to acquire wealth with the skill set that you have, right? So it's just like if that splinters off into making video game music, voice acting, or even doing like cameos and other stuff, like I would definitely do that. I think I have a good voice for it. I can do different characters, not on the spot right now, but I can do different characters.
So as far as like a oh man, that threw me off because I was actually.
You were ready.
Like,
I saw it. I saw
do
it in
one right
your
now.
eyes. You were telegraphing with your eyes, bro.
I was like, this is going so well.
Yeah. I was like, oh no. Whoa.
For your project itself, most people have small projects. With you having is that like a more of like a hip hop thing, or is it more of like, because with singers they have a very like limited selection in their album, rather than rapping is a little bit more easy, or spoken word is a little bit more easy to kind of like record. Singing takes a little bit longer, or do you feel that's the total opposite? You feel like your stuff takes a lot longer to do? The two projects.
Yeah.
So that's a lot.
That's
That's a lot.
Yeah. I mean, I feel like it honestly just depends on the person.
Like, how long did it take you to make one of those projects?
Shit, man. Well, when I dropped The Dragon Who Devoured the Moon, that was like 3 years ago. And also that was like the first project of anything, any like tangible form of art that I ever released. So it's just
almost you have all this stuff saved up.
Yeah, so it's like if you look at Nas's first album, it's just like people regard it as a classic, as it is, but it's just like Nas had all his life to write that. You feel me?
Yeah.
And I feel like that's how it was for my first project. I had all my life to write that. So it's just like, for me, it was just like, figuring out what the work ethic from there would be. So it's just like, yeah, so I don't know. When you want to be really technical, maybe a year and a half when I really like sat down and like started conceptualizing. Yeah, a year and a half.
Like putting it together.
Yeah,
but
like
a lot of the stuff is premeditated.
Yeah.
Like
So like when I actually like sat down and was just like started contextualizing like the concept behind the projects and like how it'll all come together aesthetically. Like a year and a half, and then that just like spiraled into me planning early and stuff like that. Because like as I said, I had I have like other two projects in mind, like other two big projects in mind, but they'll all hold the same aesthetic as the artwork from the first two albums,
For now, going back to Nas, I have a couple of things to segue from that.
Nice.
One, I like the word segue, if you guys don't know.
It's a good word.
It's a good word. I mean, I'm not gonna knock it. One, did you like his recent project?
Oh,
Nas.
Did I like Nas's recent project? The one that was Kanye produced?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, that's nice. I don't. A little
Oh,
more.
no, I the reason why, because like, the thing, we're going to delve into it. The thing about the stigma against Nas all the time is his beat selection.
See, that's the thing too, is I was
Right?
piggyback on that.
Yeah, because like, you agree with me, right?
He doesn't say much, but he's
that's the thing, like his whole stigma against him is his beat selection. I thought all the beats were like really fresh on the project. And it's like, it's essentially classic Nas on some like dope ass Kanye shit.
For his first project, they credit him almost as like that project, the beats were from several different producers.
Yeah.
Prior to that, you worked with a specific producer for your whole project.
Yeah.
So do you see that as like with your projects, you have a plethora of producers, or is it something that you kind of always, a majority of it goes to from certain people? Like what do you find that?
I feel like Well, I had a really specific vision for watching Icarus fly, so it kind of just happened. Excuse me. Ooh. It kind of just happened, you know. So my last project was fully produced by my homie Chinsaku out in LA, and he produced like 3 tracks on my first album. And I mean, usually I like to reach out to my collective, because like everyone in the collective like some type of producer, some type of artist, and like I feel like it diversifies the sound. So like watching Icarus fly was a straight up experiment. I was just like, all right, how is this whole project gonna sound with one producer?
Yeah.
You know, so moving forward, I'm just like, okay, cool, I've done that. Now how can I not make the same album again?
Okay.
You know?
Because I mean, they have similar artworks.
Oh yeah.
But you're just not trying to make the same sound.
Yeah.
I can distinguish the 2 sounds.
Yeah.
I could at least me, I could distinguish the 2 sounds.
Yeah. No.
Are you performing any of the songs tonight from there?
Yeah, I think. Well, wait. I don't think. Yes, I'm performing one song from watching Icarus fly. I'm performing another song from the Dragon Who Devoured the Moon, and then I'm performing a single that I dropped 2 months ago. Yeah. I'm just. Like the only thing I'm doing this year is like dropping singles until I drop this EP that I'm working on for the fall. That's about it.
And for your shows, are you doing a good amount of shows to follow up with these drops?
Yeah. Actually, this high key might be my last like appearance until like the fall.
Thank you.
Oh yeah, no problem, man.
I don't know how I feel about that,
Oh
but
no, because I gotta just work on my EP. That's about it.
yeah.
I'm just gonna buckle down and like.
Because you did So Far. We talked about that prior.
Yeah.
Is anybody familiar with So Far Chicago? Those are like really amazing setups.
Yeah.
That's
It's
like
crazy.
beautiful setups.
Yeah, it's crazy.
I'm not gonna knock us, but I mean like.
Right. I mean, this
they
is
got
beautiful
a budget,
too.
You know, they got like
Yeah.
a legit budget. How was that? How was that experience?
Oh, it was amazing. It was really dope. Like, I feel like the whole So Far team, they're so passionate about like the shows, and it just shows with their work, the way that they like put everything together, and like when you walk in, you feel so welcomed with the team, and then it's just like it's always packed. I have no clue how every So Far I've been to is just packed, cause like I don't know, it's like a
following, you know.
Yeah.
It's not hard to sell you. You're in like a random
Yeah.
greenhouse or whatever it
It's
may
just
be.
I don't know what kind of network they have, but whatever they built is just like it's there, you know.
Yeah.
So because like when they email you, they're like, yeah, don't worry about promoting it now. We got you. And it's like, oh,
Really?
snap. Yeah, like for real.
Shit.
So you walk in, it's just
I need
like,
all the promotion
hey,
I can get. All right, now we're gonna get into your performance.
dope.
But before we get into any of that,
Uh-huh.
we sign off. You say all your social medias, everything, and
Everything is just Vagabond Maurice, Vagabond Maurice. You just go to vagabondmaurice.com. You'll find the whole social media setup, and it's that. Boom.
and there we go. This is Radio Rejekts. I'm Lou Fiti, and that is
DJ Sab.
say bye, Sab. Thanks. It's like always out there.
Right, just out here.
They're not even saying shit.